Let's bring in Peter King from the mmqb.com. Pete, how are you?
Everything's okay, Dan. Yourself?
I'm okay, but I've gotten to the point where too much time now. This extra 2
Way
weeks,
too much.
I think it's been a negative for the NFL, certainly with these draft picks, because I think we've really now we've run out of ways to write columns or to host talk shows. I think it's been a disservice to them. What do you think?
Well, think about it this way, Dan. By the time players get to their teams, if you think about it in this way, by the time they get to their teams, it'll be 4.5 months since the end of the regular season.
Wow.
And only 3.5 months till opening day of the next season. The draft was never meant to be this late. The draft used to be in late November. I mean, obviously that's too early now, but there's no reason for the draft to be past the middle of April. Just no reason. And I think it does a huge, not a small, but a huge disservice to teams that are trying to get players ready for a new year. It affects football, and it does a huge disservice. Imagine if you're Blake Bortles and you're getting picked. You got a long way to go anyway to adjust to life in the NFL. Is there any way in the world in 3.5 months you can digest a playbook that you've never seen before and lead an NFL team into a season? It's absurd. I mean, I think the league has to stop thinking less about hype and TV ratings and more about the reality of football.
Well, they're also now talking about moving the draft. Now,
which is fine with me.
Well,
why should it always be in New York?
Well, here's my problem. If I move to L.A., does L.A. know the draft is there? Or Chicago, does anybody know it's there? If I'm going to move the draft, I want the city to embrace it if I'm looking for ambiance there. But if I'm going to have it in Chicago or L.A., what's the difference,
I bet if you have the draft, let's say, in Dallas or Chicago, Los Angeles is a different animal. But if you have the draft, let's say, in Dallas or Chicago or a real NFL city that is fired up about its team, I think the city would go nuts for it.
How about Green Bay?
It'd be fantastic. I'd love to see it in Green Bay. I'd love to see the draft rotate every year. I think it'd be tremendous fun. There's no reason at all why Giants and Jets fans should own the draft. There's no reason for it. It is an invented tradition that, to me, is not really there's no reason to have it in New York every year.
McLovin said that they might add some Hollywood feel to it, that maybe you get a host of the NFL draft. I mean, I don't know how far you take it.
I don't know either. I mean, I kind of like the award show the night before the Super Bowl. I think that's a cool idea. I really do. I think that's fun. But and I also like the idea that one of the reasons I like the idea of moving the draft is that it would take the NFL out of its sort of insular New York cocoon, and it would give other fan groups a chance to experience it.
When you make up your mock draft or update it, what are you basing your mock draft on, including the current one?
Most of it, I try to base it in common sense. I really do, because there's just too many lies and too many misdirection plays being thrown out there. It's totally different. A mock draft. When I used to do a mock draft, I knew that I used to have a good chance of getting 7 or 10 picks, somewhere like that, correct. And now this one I put up today, I'd be surprised if I got 4 right. Because, and I'm serious, because, I wrote about this today. There's one team that is professionally trying to misdirect other media people and people in the league as to what they're going to pick. They're specifically sending out different information than they know to be the case inside their team. They're not the only ones, but so that's why I have not talked to the Houston Texans about who they're going to pick. Why would they tell me? Why would they even give me a clue? Why would they do anything other than try to make me think something other than the truth?
Are they sending out the misinformation?
No. They're not the team.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if there's 12 teams doing that, really. But I just that's why I think the mock drafts today have to be more of common sense. And, the Miami Dolphins have to take an offensive lineman. Okay, so, I mean, whether they will or not, I don't know. Whether everyone that they like is going to be gone, which is the way I sort of feel, and whether they should wait till round 2, that's the way I feel. That's what I think they should do, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to take a tackle in the first round.
Peter King from the MMQB.com joining us. Dan Patrick Show. Charlie Casserly of the NFL Network, former GM, says Johnny Manziel doesn't go in the first round.
I think that's false. Look, and again, I am not a draft student. I'm not Charlie Casserly. I'm not McShay. I'm not Mayock. I'm not those guys. Okay, I don't watch a lot of tape of every guy. I watched a lot of tape of Johnny Manziel this year. I went around the country. I met with Mike Holmgren and watched tape with him. I went to Duke and met with David Cutcliffe and watched Manziel tape. Went to Minneapolis, met with Rich Gannon, met with Kevin Gilbride and Doug Flutie. We all watched the same 2 games, Alabama and LSU last year. And if you don't want to take Johnny Manziel because of off-the-field stuff, if you don't want to take Johnny Manziel because he's a wild Colt, I understand that. That's okay. I mean, to each his own. I'd just be very, very surprised if he's not a really good NFL player. He just finds ways to make things happen. Should have sat with me with David Cutcliffe in his office. I mean, Cutcliffe, he's an Eli and Peyton Manning guy. He's a pocket guy for the most part. He looked at me at the end of it and he goes, I would love to coach this guy. And, that's why I think Johnny Manziel is going to be malleable and he's going to be able to adjust to the offense that NFL teams have. He doesn't have to play the spread 98% of the time.
You see trades on Thursday?
Yeah, there will be some, and I think many. But, the teams, I think, that really want to move, I think Philadelphia wants to move up. I hear they like Odell Beckham, the receiver from LSU. I think Atlanta has had conversations about moving up. I don't know what they want to do. I ended up having them move up and taking Clowney. I know they like Clowney. They like Mack, too. And I think that San Francisco's getting to the point where they own the draft every year.
Yeah.
And to continually sort of put off or to continually take a large amount of players, many of whom they know are not going to make their team. They might make the practice squad, but I think this might be the year where San Francisco gets a treasure trove of picks together and moves up and tries to get a giant player. I don't know who it is. It makes sense that it would be Mike Evans, but to go up that high could really denude their draft this year.
Most likely Pro Bowl player out of this draft?
I would say Khalil Mack. He is a guy who is not going to disappoint whoever takes him. He's going to be a rock-solid. Somebody called him to me, Dan, a four-down player. I said, what do you mean a four-down player? He said, he will play at least 3 of your special teams, and he'll be really good because he wants to be great at everything he does. I really like the guy.
You got a man crush on him.
I like Mack a lot. I think he is. I don't know that he's going to be a great, one of the all-time greats. That's silly to say.
Yeah.
But I just think he's everything you want in a player, including the desire to be great.
Well, you also bring this up in your column that everybody was slobbering all over Davian Clowney with his pro day and the combine and, his vertical and his 40. And you pointed out Khalil Mack matches him, and in some categories is more athletic.
In his on-campus workout at Buffalo, Khalil Mack ran a 4.53, and when Jadeveon Clowney ran a 4.53, clock stopped. And plus Khalil Mack has a higher vertical. What that means, maybe he can leap over tall tackles. I don't know. I think some of those things are silly. I'm just saying that athletically, I'm not really sure that Jadeveon Clowney is all that much more of a freakish specimen than Khalil Mack.
No, you got a busy week, Pete. Thanks for taking time.
All the best, Dan. Thank you.
That's Peter King. The column is on the mmqb.com.